The Yamaha YZ450F is one of the most exciting new bikes for 2026 as Yamaha has refined this bike front to back. And in this video, we're gonna break down all the details on this new bike. Right now, this Yamaha 450 is bright blue and brand new, but by the end of this video, this thing's gonna be looking a little bit different. We're gonna be taking it to multiple different tracks with multiple different test riders and testing it directly against our 2025 model. So let's get to work. All right guys, first impression, 2026 Yamaha YZ450F is living up to the hype so far. First impression, I'm loving it, and I think it's time to get some other guys on it and try some other tracks and see how it fares. Versus 2026. Yamaha is my favorite for doing this because they bring out a brand new, fresh 2025 to compare against their 26 model. That means they're confident, and their confidence is valid because the 26 is pretty sick. 25 model, louder, more abrupt coming out of turns, a little bit harder to handle. These are some of our complaints about this bike the last couple of years. It's still a good motorcycle, but our 26 is pretty sweet. The Yamaha 450 has just under 9 hours on it now. We've had 7 different test riders spinning laps on this blue machine, and we've hit 3 different tracks around Southern California, Glen Helen, Kauai, and Paula. And we also hit the dyno at Pro Circuit to try to get the skinny on exactly what the YZ450 is all about. This thing was all new in 2023, minor updates in 2025, and now for 2026. It doesn't look very new from the outside in, but when you dig underneath the curtain, updates are pretty impressive and pretty extensive on the YZ450F. The year 2022, the Yamaha YZ450F was fast, fat, and stable. It was really good in straight line. It was really wide up here at the fuel tank and at the shrouds, and it was hard to dip in and out of turns, but you could trust it going in a straight line. Then for 2023, this bike came out, all new frame, updated engine, much more nimble, much skinnier up front, but it also gave up some of that stability that Yamaha was known for. If you previously liked the 2022 YZ450F, you might not have liked the 23 platform. Guys who didn't like Yamaha were all of a sudden liking Yamaha, and that was the case for MXA. We appreciated how well the 2023 platform turned in and out of turns. Since then, 2024, the bike was exactly the same. 25, last year, they made some updates to the suspension settings, trying to refine the chassis and make it a little more stable. They also updated the foot peg mounts and made some minor updates in 2025. Fast forward now to 2026, Yamaha has been answering our requests to make the bike smoother, more stable, quieter, and easier to ride on the track. The YZ450F has been known for being the fastest, most aggressive power band out of all the 450s. It's the one that we've called a true 450. Where all the other manufacturers have gone to a linear, smoother, low-end grunt, the YZ450F has been known for being herky-jerky, for wheeling out of corners, and giving you all that you can handle on the track. There's 2 sides to the power coin on the YZ450F. On one hand, they're answering their requests of test riders like MXA and consumers who complained about how herky-jerky the YZ450F engine was at the crack of the throttle, and they're really answering the requests of all the people who put Vortex ECUs on to make their 450 engine smoother, easier to ride. Aftermarket exhausts have done the same thing as well to make this platform easier. So they wanted to make us happier, but they also wanted to pass the future FIM sound rule, which has been a moving target. It was supposed to be years ago. Now it has been pushed back all the way to 2027, 109 decibels. YZ450F used to be the loudest bike, 116 decibels, and it was extremely loud because of this forward-facing airbox up here. You could hear the airbox sucking in air when you twisted the throttle. Now for 2026, they went from 116 110 to 109 dBs. But because of that, they had to choke up this engine quite a bit. The muffler is a lot more packed in, more baffles inside of the muffler. They got a resonator on the header. They also have a resonator and a duct inside the intake to make it quieter and kind of limit that noise. When you make a bike quieter, you also make a bike slower. And because of that, Yamaha wanted to do a couple updates to the engine to make sure that it didn't give up that low end grunt the Yamaha owners love. They updated the intake track. They made it a little bit steeper. They updated the intake shape, made it into an oval shape. They updated the throttle body to match that. They updated the timing on the camshafts, and they made a big change to the gearing, going from a 49 tooth rear sprocket to a 51 tooth rear sprocket to get some of that low end grunt back. So the big question is, how did all these engine updates translate to the track? Well, the good thing is the Yamaha is awesome at bringing out the 2025 model to compare directly against the 2026. I spent the day on their 26 model last week, jumped on that 25, definitely louder, exceptionally louder, and not harder to ride even just through the pits. The on-off feeling that you got with the throttle on the 25 model was a big difference. The cable clutch on the 25 compared to the Nissan hydraulic clutch on the 26 also makes a difference in roll-on power and just smoother engagement with that hydraulic clutch. So it was a big difference for me riding the 25 and the 26, but I was surprised that the power difference was actually very similar. I didn't think it was such a wide gap between 26 and 25. The 26 has that 51 tooth rear sprocket, 25 still has that 49 tooth rear sprocket. So you could tell that they were trying to get more grunt and get more excitement coming out of corners when they spec a 51 on the stock bike. But for me, I was pretty impressed with the power and how easy it was to manage compared to last year's bike. Dennis, you rode it at Kahia, you rode it at Glen Helen, now you rode it at Paula. What was your opinion about the engine on this bike?
One of my complaints, the first one that you nailed, was the sound. I could never actually hear the feel of the throttle. And what I mean by that is it was so loud that I couldn't get like the low RPM range of the throttle. So I was either twisting the throttle too much and just not riding it correctly as a 25 model. With the sound being down, I can kind of get the nice feel going through the turn at low RPMs to get the connection of the ground and the throttle. Kind of all goes together for me. And the gearing, obviously, that big of a change for an OEM manufacturer is big. So right off the bat, I'm going, dang, what did they do? Did they change a primary gear? Did they change the gearbox? They just did all the stuff for sound regulations. With that gearing, we were able to today run through a 49 to see how much it lost, and it was definitely massive. Like, you had to ride the clutch a lot for second gear, and that was nothing like the 25. We went to a 50, 51 comes stock on it. Today I preferred the 50 sprocket. I felt like it lengthened second gear for me, so I was in a higher RPM range for third gear. It was ruddy, track was kind of technical. It is pro day at Fox Raceway here today. So for me, the 50 was great here, but I could go 51 or 50, where I felt like the 25 didn't have a sprocket option. It was like I was either over revved in second or I was going really fast in third, but third was above my speed limit. I would always just need the clutch to pull third gear for me. So overall, this bike's already got a better option with two sprockets that I can manage to ride. The sound for the feeling of the throttle, all that's a huge improvement.
The majority of the 8.5 hours we put on this bike were done with the 51 tooth rear sprocket, but we did have that option that we talked about, 49, 50, and 51 today. Going back to back with the 49 tooth sprocket on the 26 versus a 49 on the 25, you can see clearly how big of a difference it is on power. We could ride it with the 49, but you needed a lot of clutch and it was just not a reasonable sprocket and gearing ratio with the 1349. And I will tell you guys, the dyno numbers also confirm that the power is down on the new YZ450F. The bike last year dynoed at 59.5 horsepower on our YZ450F for 25. 2026, 56.7. So almost 3 horsepower slower on peak dyno numbers, but you wouldn't believe it if you were riding the bike and just going off of how you feel on the track. I still believe that this bike will be one of the best in class for getting hole shots, and I still believe it's gonna be a strong bike when it comes power-wise. We did test ourselves. Both of us rode it before we took it to Pro Circuit to get dynoed, and we thought maybe a horsepower off, but it still felt like it had the same top-end speed as the 25 model. We also tested Sean Bushnell and Josh Fout. Sean Bushnell thought that the dyno number was exactly the same as last year. Josh Fout thought maybe it was 1 horsepower slower. So that goes to show you our test riders on the track couldn't really feel a huge difference in overall power. It's mostly that smooth roll-on that we appreciate about the 26, but dyno numbers don't lie, and this thing is almost 3 horsepower slower. Answering the request requests of many riders is Yamaha adding a hydraulic clutch stock on their YZ450F. Now, we appreciated that it came with the cable, but you had the GYTR upgrade for the last 3 years. Now the upgrade is no more. Cable is gone and hydraulic is here. This Nissan system is pretty impressive, and the best part about it is it's a adjustable system. You don't have to adjust the cable while you're riding on the track. It gives you a smooth and positive clutch feel, and they've also been able to increase spring pressure in the clutch basket to make for a more solid engagement and less slippage at the clutch. So that's something that we appreciate. It comes because the hydraulic hole is easier, and because it's easier, they're able to go stiffer, which improves durability. It's going to make the starts a little bit better and make your clutch last a little bit longer. No, you will not be able to add the clutch back onto this motorcycle unless you do some major mods by replacing cases. It will be possible, but it's going to be a long road. It's not something that's an easy switch out like it was before with hydro and cable. So that's something that I really appreciate, and it also affects the handling of this bike because it has a smoother clutch, a more durable clutch, and a more positive feel. It's making the YZ450F easier to ride. Switching gears to the handling side of this YZ450F, we're getting questions. Is this bike like a 2022 when it comes to stability? Well, Yamaha made updates to the frame. It's not an all new frame, but it does have a refined frame with a new down tube here, made stiffer at the top for more precise cornering, but also softer at the bottom to increase compliance and make it a little more flexible and comfortable. The front engine mounts as well went from 8 mil to 4 mil to make them more flexible as well at the front. And the fork settings have been refined. The shock is brand new. It's got a new base valve in here. It's got an adjustable by hand compression clicker, and overall the shock has been updated. Mounting points are the same, so you will be able to put 2025 A kits on here, but the shock is updated when it comes to the stock form. Dennis, you were critical of how this bike handled the last couple years. With these updates, what do you think? Did it make it back to 2022?
Yeah, so Yamaha's really tried to favor some of their loyal customers. So when they came out with the new platform in 2023, people were like, loyal Yamaha people. They didn't really know if they liked it. It was fast. It was a Yamaha. They still bought it, but it wasn't the stable machine that they were known for. It did have a real loose front end feel and kind of vague feel depending on traction or terrain conditions, which was a huge downfall. People struggled with that all year, but it was still overall good because the KYB fork was plush, but it just didn't have good front end feel. Skipping to 24, 25, they did some small updates to the suspension. They did change the link. The link was 50-50. Some of our test riders really liked it. Some of them didn't. They felt that it brought the rear end of the bike to be a little bit nervous. This new platform, it's definitely calmed down. The fork comes at 2 mil with all new settings. It does have a slight harsh feeling mid-stroke in the fork that some of the test riders have mentioned, but with the shock balance and fork height adjusted for your riding style, some of our guys said they've got rid of it, but it is there. So it's really critical to get the sag height and fork height where you like it. We went all the way from 5 mil to flush today. Everyone ended up back at 2 mil at Fox Raceway, but they are running the sag a little lower. The Yamaha recommended the 105 target range. Some of the people are at 105 to 106, half a turn off the shock spring, just to get the fork to feel a little bit different at the top of the stroke for their liking.
Dennis agrees the bike is more calm, more compliant, more predictable, and easier to ride, but I will say this is no 2022. That bike was fat, that bike was heavy, that bike was meant to go in straight lines and not meant to turn. This bike is still very nimble, still much closer to a 25 than a 2022 model. I just think it is a refined version of it, but it's still not a straight line bomber. Nimble in the air for whippersnappers. I do appreciate that about this bike. Suspension settings for me, forks are a little bit soft, but something that I am very comfortable with here at Paula, and I think going to a national rougher track, yes, I'm gonna have to do some valving and make it a little stiffer. Some of our bigger test riders will wanna go up on a spring rate, but overall, it's a great package to start from in the handling department. Other appreciations we have for Yamaha, we're thankful that the vent hose coming from the engine now does not go into the airbox. It is vented out like a regular vent hose, like any other motorcycle. The engine vent hose going into the airbox was meant for emissions, but it also made the bike run a little bit not so clean. Now we don't have to worry about that. You don't have to take it to Twisted to get that blocked off. It's good to go from the factory. Also appreciate gripper seat cover. It's not super grippy. It's not as grippy as I want it to be, but it is an improvement. The muffler is actually lower now for 2026. It's nicer. The rear fender is easier to grab here when you're putting the bike on the stand. Muffler is tilted down lower. Yamaha claims that the 25 muffler fits on this bike, and they did it basically with a 25 stock muffler. We tried putting a Pro Circuit exhaust system on our 26 model. It did not fit right. So we haven't tried FMF, we haven't tried a stock one, but the Pro Circuit system, we could not get it on this bike. So that is a little bit of a bummer for the aftermarket companies and for you guys who own aftermarket exhausts. Also, front number plate, it's a complete copy of the Stark Varg. If you like the Stark Varg, you'll like the front number plate on this one. If not, you might not like it. Dennis, your 2 complaints. The grips?
Yeah, the grips, you know, a lot of manufacturers are updating them. These are super durable and will last the Weekend Warrior a long time, but they're just outdated.
And you're still standing on the foot
Yeah,
peg
and the foot peg mounts could be improved. The floating front rotor, 50% of our group likes it, 50% doesn't. And the shape of the seat is still, the overall, it's a small improvement, but I still would like a better feeling seat.
Yep, other updates, Yamaha answered my request. I was getting my CD boots caught on the side number panels, specifically here on the left side. From day one, when we tested this bike at the Star Racing Yamaha farm in 2022, the first generation of it, I was getting my boot stuck on it. Now they have new side number panels that are a little bit smoother. You ride a little differently, so you still got it caught, but it solved my problems, maybe not yours.
Yeah, I still catch the left side a little bit. I do tend to twist when I ride, and I do ride a little back, so yeah, but it is an improvement. I do feel the spots where they did change the number plates and you can, the contact patch is improved, so overall that is a good thing.
Overall, the updates to this bike are extensive and it's hard to even talk about them all in one video. Be sure to tune in to the December issue of Motocross Action Magazine where we'll have a full written review about this bike. And stay tuned for our 450 shootout in the coming months. We're excited to see how this thing stacks up with the current crop of 450s that we have that haven't made updates, as well as the new bikes like the Triumph, the Ducati, the Beta that have been updated for this year. So thank you guys for watching this video. For more on Motocross Action, check out motocrossactionmag.com. For more details on the exact updates, read the description in this video on our website, motocrossactionmag.com. Thanks for watching. See you at the track.